Recording to the cloud. It's
Right.
official. It's begun.
Official. Okay.
So I can just look at you for a little bit. You've grown
Yep.
since the last time I've seen you.
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah.
You have you grown?
Only spiritually, I guess.
Only spiritually. Okay.
And musically, of course.
Musically, obviously.
So you go
That's
to
always.
Northwestern.
Yep.
It's a top tier school.
That's what they say.
How's that experience treating you?
It's pretty tough. My first quarter, because we're on quarters, not semesters. My first quarter is over as of a couple days ago. And now I have a month and a week long break. So January 11th, I go back. But in my first quarter, and it was all remote, like with Zoom and stuff. My first quarter, I took some interesting classes, no music classes, unfortunately, but I think the calculus class really was tough. I had my final exam, and I think the 24 hours before the exam, 12 of those hours were just doing math. So it's kind of a shock to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what way?
I just didn't. I mean, I expected college to be, so much studying and so much homework, but I didn't actually think of what that would look like or what that would feel like. Because, I know high school teachers tell you these things. They're like, in college, this will happen and stuff. And while I absorbed that information, I didn't really think about it. So I guess, it was somewhat of a shock how much work I had to do.
Is it the amount of work or the complexity of the work, or both?
It's both, for sure. Yeah, and a lot of it was, okay, hopefully my teacher never sees this, but a lot of it, his teaching, he's a new teacher. He's like a grad student. His method was, it was pretty decent, but I feel like he could have done more to help us learn. So I kind of found myself teaching myself sometimes, which made it harder because I'm not as equipped as him to teach myself. But it worked out at the end, I think.
What was the class?
It was calculus.
Oh, it was the calculus.
Yeah. My other courses were something with astronomy. It was we didn't really learn about astronomy. We just read books about astronomy, fictional sci-fi stuff. I had a Greek mythology class and a beginner French course. Learning French.
Astronomy, math, and music. How important are those things to you?
Well, out of all of
How are
those
they
three,
related, I guess?
right? Out of all of those three things, I'd say music is the most important to me. It's I listen to music and play music on every day, right? Astronomy, it's very, very interesting to me. Just there's so much to the universe that we don't know about yet, and we probably will never know about, which is weird to think about. And math is just kind of like a tool for getting to the details about astronomy, right? Like you have math, and then you have physics, which uses math, and then physics is like the broadest science, and then you have chemistry under that, biology, and it keeps going. But like math is kind of like the base of all of that. Like you need math to do all that. So it is very important. And sometimes I'll find myself doing a hard problem, and when I'm done, I get really happy and like motivated because I succeeded in beating this challenge that I challenged myself to. And yeah, so I think all three of those are fairly important to me, but if I had to rank them, I'd go music, astronomy, math.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When you say those things, it makes me think of self-discovery. Um,
Mm.
like the physical world of astronomy kind of identifies not only the world outside of us, but through that journey, we tend to identify things about ourselves and what we're capable of or the possibilities.
Right. Um,
Does this
I
feel like
f-
a journey for you? Like a journey of self-discovery through the numbers and
yeah, in a way it does. Well, I mean, the entire college experience, I would say, is about self-discovery in a way, and I haven't experienced it much at all yet. So you would know better than me, but so far, I guess I'm discovering things about my my interests, my intent with life, and all these related things related to that. So college has it's obviously important to learn the material that you're studying, but it also helps you learn about yourself and your what motivates you, your interests, etc.
so what are some new interests that you've developed?
Well, I've been interested in linguistics, kind of, and language in general, because so there's these, you know what a polyglot is?
I remember hearing that. I can't remember. What is it?
It's someone who speaks like a lot of languages,
Oh,
I think.
yeah, polygot. Yes.
Yeah. So I've just been watching videos of on YouTube of people speaking like 7 different languages, and it's just really interesting to me because so there are a lot of people in America who their first language is not English. They're from different countries, and from watching these videos, you can kind of see like a there's a visible change in both physical and in the way they talk when you switch over to their language. Like it's more, I forget what the saying is, but it reaches their heart more when you speak in their language, right?
Mm.
And you can just see the joy that it brings some of these people to hear their own language from a foreigner, and to know that the foreigner is interested in their culture, which yeah, that has made linguistics seem very appealing to me, and it's part of why I kind of want to, like, I'm learning French, like I said, and I kind of want to maybe take that further than, the normal required 2 years and then just drop it.
Yeah.
So I feel like learning a language is very valuable, right?
When you say that, it reminds me of when I first met you. Um, and music was its own language.
Hmm.
And I think you could see as you learned that language, the sort of like joy and engagement I had as your teacher. I think I was really inspired and amazed by that. And I think you saw that.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think it's that feeling that you might be talking about when you can play Maple Leaf Rag and you see the joy it brings, the
Yeah.
physical change it brought to your mother, I think, hearing her dance.
Yeah. Or at the nursing home where I played, or the joy it brought to those people. Like that was great like. I wasn't paying attention to the audience when I was playing, but when my mom recorded it and I watched after, like I saw them all shimmying in their chairs and stuff. Um, I don't know, it just felt really good. And music is like a language. It's like kind of has the same effect that I was just talking about with linguistics
Hmm.
and other languages. So that's a good point. Um, what was
I
I
guess
going to say?
I got to ask, where do you get the discipline? I know that you're just a normal kid, right? This normal
Yeah.
kid growing up, actually a pretty getting close to adulthood, or when does that happen? I don't know, but
It's happened summer.
it
It
happened in
happened in the
summer.
summer. Yeah.
What happened in the summer?
I mean, I'm technically an adult now.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
because I'm
if
in
that was
college.
like a numerical thing or is it like a
Numerical, numerical.
it's numerical. Okay. So you're an adult now.
Yeah, but not really.
Me too. I'm still working on it. Where did
Yeah,
but I try to understand, where do you get the discipline? Why do you have the discipline
right.
to learn these things?
So recently, with the, I think it's a combination of the effects of the quarantine and all this work for that I have to do for college, but it's been hard to find a lot of motivation for music, right? Um, I can listen to as much music as I want. I'm really good at listening to music, uh, but practicing music is definitely requires more motivation. And in the current circumstances, well, for the past couple months, it was pretty hard, and I would sometimes just force myself to be disciplined, I guess, and to practice, and that's not very effective. At least I don't think it is, because it just ends up diminishing my interest or my love for playing, because I'll have more negative experiences when I play. So, and I almost contemplated like taking a break from music, like an extended break, not just like a 1 week thing, because I was just getting nowhere, right? Or I thought I was getting nowhere, and I don't really know if I was getting nowhere. I'm not the one to judge myself on my music skill, but that was just how I felt, and it was kind of affecting me. But recently, I think with the break, my winter break started what is today? Monday. It started Wednesday, last Wednesday. And I don't have obviously I don't have nearly as much busy work to do because school's over for me for now. So I'm finding more time for listening and playing music, um, and trying to discipline myself. I think it's interesting that there's a community recital that I'm going to be playing in on Sunday, and I feel like knowing I'm going to play in that, or at least I plan to play in that, knowing that kind of motivates me. It gives me something to practice for, other than just enjoyment, right? Because sometimes there's not always enjoyment. Sometimes I just might be forcing myself to practice, like I said. But the recital gives me something to practice for. It's like a combination of not wanting to embarrass myself, but also wanting to prove myself, I guess, or put on a good show for people, entertain people, make them feel any sort of emotions that the music that I'm playing comes with. So that recital, I think, has been a good motivator, and I think that might be the reason why, or part of the reason why I was finding it so difficult to consistently practice before, because I didn't have any recitals, I didn't have any performances um, over the summer. The months before that, I had nothing, and the months after the summer, up until now, I had nothing. So that might help me a bit. And another thing that I guess I could be doing is, just calling random people on video, or not random people, my friends on video, or live streaming or whatever, and just play my piece. And then that like gives me something to practice for. That gives me performing practice. You know, it's not real performance, but it's kind of like halfway there. Like I'm in my house, so it's more comfortable than on the stage, but I'm still, you know, putting my playing out there for someone to judge. So it's it does help.
Sounds like you've been talking to Susan Tang. Did she recommend that
What?
to perform on online for friends?
Oh yeah. Well, she said that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like something she would say.
Yeah. Did she tell you to do that?
No, I'm already
No.
amazing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I forgot.
No, no. I think, yeah, that performance aspect, it really, really does cultivate a sense of like discipline to practice because like you don't want to embarrass yourself. Um, and it feels terrible when you give a bad performance. It really is just like heart wrenching. So I've experienced a few of those.
Yeah.
I heard that you somehow like had a conversation with your astronomy teacher about music, something like that. What's that story?
Did my mom tell you?
Your mom mentioned something saying that like you found some common ground with one of your teachers through music, even though it wasn't a music course.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Um, so yeah, let me explain the course first then. Um, so it's technically an astronomy course, kind of. We read what we did for it was we read two books, the sci-fi books, um, both related to astronomy and like space travel and stuff. And over the 10 weeks or so of the quarter, each week there would be a discussion leader, and we met 2 times a week. Each day there would be a discussion leader, and we would discuss a few chapters of the books, of both of the books, which we read at the same time. And along with that, that was kind of like our main in-class activity. And out of class, we had 4 papers over the 10 weeks that we had to write that were 4 to 5 pages. And we could pick any topic for that. It didn't have to be astronomy, which really confused my mom and me. So yeah, so like let me see if I remember. My first paper, I don't remember the order, but I wrote a paper about Greek mythology stuff. I wrote a paper about music stuff like Tchaikovsky and Mozart, about their deaths that were kind of their conspiracy theories about their death. Um, I wrote one about black holes, which is astronomy. And then the last one I wrote about, what did I write? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. It was not astronomy related. So I was emailing him about topics, and this is what my mom is talking about, I think. I was emailing him about topics that I could use for my paper. And he replied saying that anything is fine. So I asked if I could do music because I was still like, are you sure I can do any topic? And he said yes. And he actually played piano for, I think, several years when he was younger. And his father was really good. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure one of his granddaughters or maybe one of his nieces won like some competition, like big competition in America, which is pretty interesting. Um, he said himself that he was never good because he didn't practice, which is so we kind of talked about that a little bit. Um, and then he suggested that I could write about scales for my essay, which I wasn't going to do that because I don't think I can write 5 pages about scales. And oh, my last topic was climate change. That was it. I said stuff about how, if it's real and what should we do and stuff. So yeah, that's what my mom was talking about. Um, we didn't go into a deep talk about classical music and like the emotions that you can portray in it, but we just talked briefly about his music history and stuff.
Do you think, I think that, well, then you're going to find people in your life where the music is something that you always have in common with someone else, even if it's not the same field. Like I think of like Albert Einstein, and he played the
Mhm.
violin, right? So,
Yeah.
do you remember Paul Pickering? He's one of the studying. He's studying at Northeastern with Susan Tang.
Is he like your neighbor?
Yeah, yeah, he is. He was my neighbor. Yeah, but he's like a doctor, so he does
Yeah.
medicine. But
Mm.
he's also very much a lover of music. So it's
Mhm.
just interesting when people get together. They have this background of music or interest, and it
Mhm.
sounds like from what I heard from your mom that the like you kind of made a connection with that teacher more so than maybe you had with the other teachers.
Right. Yeah, I
And,
did.
and having those connections for me, connections like that have been so crucial to my success in not only just music but in life. Um, I mean, Susan Tang, like obviously we have a connection because music, but there's other people too, uh, and all of those people are great in my life. So I don't know. It just I wonder. I wonder. So what is next semester like for you? What do you got? Any plans for that?
Yeah, I picked my all my courses last week or the week before.
What'd you pick?
So I'm continuing with French, whatever the next French class is.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a class about like the history of weather or something. So like ice ages, not like I really don't know what it's about. I'm just interested in like historic weather and stuff, like the ice age, for example. And I have a coding intro to coding, I think,
Hmm.
class.
Learn
I'm
to
gonna
code.
Yeah, I want to try that and see because computer science is a very profitable career these days, and it's
Hmm.
growing, and it might be interesting. If it's interesting, that's to me, that's really good because then I can have a decent career lined up. Um, and then my other course is French, coding, weather. Oh, calculus. The next calculus course, obviously, with the same teacher. So hopefully he steps his game up. Or maybe I just have to step mine up. Maybe I'm wrong this whole time and he's teaching perfectly with no errors or nothing he could possibly do better and I'm just a terrible student. But
Maybe. As a,
maybe.
you've always been somewhat of a strong student, whether it was in high school or with me studying music or even at Northwestern. And I think you know that people have identified that trait in you. Um, what do you think about that
About myself as a student.
as a learner of things?
Hmm. I think I'm very receptive to information and to learning in general. Like I always want to learn. Um, and I'll, like I said, with my calculus class, if my teacher is not, teaching me at least in the best way that I can learn, then I find a way to learn it myself, I guess, through thankfully the internet, which I can't imagine doing school before the internet existed now. But yeah, I would have not had a fun time with my calculus class if the internet didn't exist. But um, yeah, I've been told I want to make it clear that I'm not bragging or anything. I've been told that I'm a good student. Um, obviously in like report card meetings for school and stuff. Um, and I don't know. Like I think every time I have an experience like I had with my calculus course this past quarter, I guess it kind of like just overshadows whatever my previous teachers told me about myself as a learner or as a student. And it kind of makes me feel like, oh wow, I'm not actually that good of a student because I didn't get a B or an A in this class, which is probably not the best way to think. And it's pretty disheartening at times. But after a while, like I guess I get over it in a way. I realize that it's just my self-deprecation and not actually true. So yeah.
So what do you think these people see in you? What do you think the perception of when people look at you? What do you think that they see
Um,
in general, or as specific as you want?
as a teacher, what do you think teachers would see about me?
Well, I guess it's just you say you love to learn.
Yeah.
Is it the emotional result of learning a new thing? Do you feel something every time you learn something? Something?
So, okay. Like I mentioned this earlier, like if I have a math problem that I'm
Yeah.
working on for like
Right.
a couple hours, that feels pretty good to solve that. Um, Usually that's kind of like a math thing. I don't really see that in any other subject. Um, but, or maybe if I finish a big paper, that feels good. But I think okay, I think people, if I'm talking about teachers, what I think they see in me is part good grades, right? Because that obviously means you're doing something right. Part, partially paying attention in class, not messing around like half the students in school do, and going on their phones and stuff. And then I don't know, I feel like with most of my teachers, I've always made like a some sort of connection, like just through conversation with them. More like my English teacher last year. She's this old Greek lady, senior year of high school. Yeah, last year. Old Greek lady, and she was my English teacher. And every day I would come like 30 minutes before class or something because what my mom did was on her way to work, she took me, dropped me off, and then my brother was dropped off after. So I always ended up at school early. Um, so I would talk to her, or usually I would talk to her. Sometimes I would just listen to music on my phone. Um, and she actually likes classical music, which is um, that was pretty nice to talk about. I wrote a paper about kind of like a biography, or not really a biography, but kind of about Frederick Chopin, and she enjoyed that. But so yeah, I talked to her. I guess I made a connection more than just you're my teacher, I'm your student, teach me, right? It was more like a human discussion that we would have, or I would help her out with some things in the morning, run some errands across the school. Um, and yeah, she liked me because of I guess, a combination of all those things. Um, and I feel like back to the question, I feel like I do that with a lot of my teachers. Like with my astronomy professor, I just emailed him and about the topic, and we ended up talking back and forth, emailing back and forth about, music or whatever. Um, and maybe that's part of what gives them this better view of me, or maybe I'm just so smart, so incredibly smart in every possible way that they just say I'm a great student.
That's very possible too, and you should own that.
Okay, I'm not bragging.
But I find that there is a very real connection, I think, between people and intelligence. Yes, you are intelligent, but a large part it comes from these connections that you've made. I think this Greek teacher you're talking about sounds like you kind of liked her or at least respected her. And so, in one way to show respect is to actually participate, listen, pay attention, and engage in the learning process. That is probably the most respectful thing you can do with a teacher.
Mm.
So, that must have, feel like that comes from like growing up, maybe with how you did. Uh,
That sorry, that reminds me. Whenever a teacher was sick or whatever, and they brought in a substitute teacher, and some of them would be normal, but some of the students would act up and try to do whatever the sub says not to do, just in spite of them. And whenever they did that, that always really annoyed me. So I guess I have some sort of pre-existing respect for teachers before I even know anything about them, because like they have to deal with all our shenanigans and you know deal with the bad apples in the class, I guess. And it deserves respect because not everyone can sit in front of 30 people and teach them a subject, or at least keep them interested or keep them engaged in some way. And it deserves respect also because they're teaching the next generation of students. Like, um, I don't know, that's just so important for our society is learning. So that automatically deserves respect. Yeah,
so,
in
where
my
did you
opinion.
learn to respect? Did you always have that? You picked that up along the way? Did you read a book on it? What's the secret?
Uh, I didn't read a book on respect. I think I mean, I'm guessing I learned it from just my family, like my parents probably, or maybe my grandparents, or just anyone in my family. Um, I guess it starts with your parents telling you, say please and thank you and stuff like that, or sit still at the dinner table, which I'll tell you, Nick doesn't have the best time with that. But uh, it starts with small things like that, I think, and then it just develops itself based on the person. And for some people, it goes terribly wrong, like students in class who will just mess around with the substitute teacher. And for some people, it goes right, and you know, I guess, those kind of people are maybe they end up being more successful in school. You know, it's just a trend I see where the misbehaving students will usually have worse grades or not know as much about the material than the well-behaved students. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
you go to Northwestern. What do you mean there's 50% of the kids still messing around on their phones, not paying
no, no,
attention?
no. I was talking about high school when I
Oh,
said that.
okay. I was worried
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. If they do that in college, they're just going to get kicked out, or they're just going to get ignored and waste thousands of dollars. And that's on them. Um,
So, tell me about that, the difference of student population from Northwestern to Taft.
well, yeah. So I've been on campus before, but we haven't officially lived on campus for school yet or taken any courses on campus because of the virus. But I think we're moving in on the 8th, I think, or like around there. At least I am. Not everyone is moving in. And they might cancel it like a week before or something. I don't know. Depends on what happens with the number of cases. But there's a lot more students, and the campus is, I don't know, it can't be that big. Like half a mile squared or something. But the population is so much higher than in high school. Like high school, you have 4,000, no, not even 3,000. And that's like the bigger high schools. And this Northwestern, which is like kind of smaller, medium small, has like, that's got to be around 20,000. So, but there are some colleges out there with tens of thousands more, right?
Mm.
So, um, but yeah, one one thing I guess helpful about college and like the greater population is that more people have taken the courses that you take, and there are more people who are taking your courses at the moment. So you have a lot more resources and help versus in high school. Like in high school, help is sometimes seen as like deserving of money. Like some people will pay for their work to be done by other people, and that's one thing that really bothers me. Actually, I guess I'll talk about that for a little bit.
Mm.
Is people paying their way through school, uh, not necessarily like paying the institution to get good grades or whatever, but just paying other people to do their work for them. Um, and I actually know a couple people who've done this before, and like my thought process about this idea of paying for your work is like let's say you're a doctor, and this is probably no doctors do this, but let's say just you're a doctor and you pay other doctors to do your work for you or to do your schoolwork for you. How are you going to be a good doctor and save lives when you don't even know the material, right? Now, that's not, I don't know if many doctors have ever done that, but you can just apply that to any career at all. Like, how are you
Do
going
it
to be
with
good?
music.
Yeah, with music. How are you going to, if you like set up a recital date for thousands of people and you've been paying someone to record your music for you this whole time, you're screwed. I mean, there's no way out of it. They're going to know it's not you, and you're in trouble. So it just works for anything, and it's really not a good idea.
So
And
why do you think they do it? They must have some rational explanation, or that they must be thinking some way that that makes sense for them. So
yeah,
how are they thinking that?
I think maybe they just the maybe they value their letter grades too much, more than actually learning for yourself. Um, that's something that a lot of people complain about, is the modern school system's dependence on grades and stuff rather than uh, looking at the worth of the student, the actual worth of the student's person, and um, their ability to learn. They just look at the grades. Oh, you got above a certain number, okay, you pass, right? And you got right below that, you got zero point 0.1 points below that, oh, you failed, retake it. um, so I think that this whole system, and I'm not trying to like reform the whole student or schooling system or anything, but I think that has affected a lot of people to the point where they don't care about actually learning. They don't care about the real material. They just care about seeing A or B on their card, report card, or on their online grading website. So it's unfortunate, and I feel really bad for those people, because I feel like a lot of them, it's probably too late. Like once you've gone so far in that, in paying other people to do your work, I mean, at a certain point, you can't learn all the material that you missed in time to continue on to the next material, and it'll get too much, and you'll just end up in a lot of trouble.
I think maybe these kids haven't fallen in love with learning like you have. For some reason, that part of the puzzle or the equation is missing. And if there's no sense of love for learning, what's the point? You
Right.
know? And I don't know how you fix that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the love for learning has to come naturally. Like you can't force your kid to want to learn about math. Like put them in front of a math book and say learn. Um, you have to, and you, I guess you would know this really well. You have to engage them in the material, so and make it interesting for them. Um, and maybe that's a. I don't think it might be a problem for a lot of teachers today is that they just don't make the material engaging enough for their students. Then we end up having people who pay others to do their work for them, and yeah, I feel like the love for learning has to come pretty naturally, but it can, the ability and the materials needed to love learning can be made available through your family or your teachers or your friends. But overall, you're the one who has to and use those tools and eventually love learning. So
It sounds easy enough, doesn't it?
yeah,
So why isn't it, if it's that easy, why aren't, why not? Why is it not the majority? I think about these things all the time. Especially with some students who have an opportunity to learn music,
mm-hmm.
or, I mean, why would we do music if it's not fun? And some people view it like it's a chore, like it's not fun. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it comes down to control. Like so many students are being told they have to do this, they have to do that. And somewhere along the line, their decision or ability to make decisions was like, it was never their choice. And at a certain point, they just like, what am I doing? Because I don't have a choice. Or they get the illusion that they don't have a choice. I think
mm-hmm.
that might be an issue. I don't know.
Well, you're a teacher, so
Well, some of
that
these
has
kids feel that they're there because their parents want them to do it. And other than that, then why are they doing it? And somehow I have to show them that it's something worth doing. And that's sometimes it feels like a roll of the dice. I get a student like Tony Metz, and like, and I'll be honest, like that. I think you're as far as my profession goes, you're the dream student, if you say. It's, I say dream because it's somewhere between reality and fantasy. Like we all have dreams, but we don't know if that's they're it's not always the what happens. So most students that come into the world of music and learning in general do it because they're told that that's what they need to be doing. And yes, it is, but they forgot to love it. So uh, it's hard to
yeah.
say. It's hard to say how I can help change people's view on that, other than just. I remember you and I had some good conversations, like just about music during our lesson. Sometimes it wasn't just music. So
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe just by talking with people, um, you you start to fall, like you can fall in love with the music, and or whatever subject matter.
Yeah, maybe me talking to my teachers helps me love learning more. Maybe it helps me see them more more as humans and
Mm,
not just like people I can mess around with in class, right? And then
mm.
that alone just helps me respect them more and respect learning more. Um, I have a question though. I have my own idea, but for like as a teacher, do you see the students who whoops,
Sorry.
it's okay. Do you see the students who who think they're forced to do this to learn music? Do you think hmm, do you think they see? I don't want to make this a competition of skill.
You
Do you
can.
think okay? Do you think they're less inclined to be better at music.
I
If
think
that
that,
makes sense.
yeah, well, I mean, what is the brain? The brain is a connection of neurons, and some connections haven't been made yet, which can make the learning process or comprehension of material more difficult. And some people have more connections. There's more neural pathways happening for whatever reason. And you know, like that's just how it is. Now, I think anybody can develop it a little bit, you know, but
Yeah,
you know,
I guess I just have a big brain.
you must have a big brain or just at least an efficient brain. If it's not big, it's highly efficient. And
Maybe.
um,
I
yeah, it's
wish
hard
it.
to, but you know, there's always somebody smarter. There's always somebody
Oh yeah,
stronger,
for sure.
can play better music and teach better and can there's always a better way. If there wasn't, then there would be no room for like nobody would be inspired. I'm always
Mm,
inspired when I meet teachers better than me or pianists better than me or anyone that
mm-hmm.
does anything better than me. I'm like, wow. And
Yeah,
lucky for me, there's plenty of people in the world that are better than me.
same here.
Then there we go. You know, and in other areas where someone might be successful and uh, maybe even more successful than I am, but they may be like in other areas weaker. And you know, by sharing my perspective and engaging in conversation, you know, just being aware of ourselves, I think we can learn a lot from each other. And I don't really want
Agreed.
to be good at everything, honestly. It's too much work.
Yeah, agree. I
So
agree. Um, yeah. Uh,
competent. I don't mind being competent in a lot of things, but I don't want to be like, you know,
yeah. It's too much to. Eventually, I mean, you can't be the best at everything, right?
you know.
Simple as that. Um, I forgot what I was going to say. Uh, we were talking about. Never mind. Just go on.
Well,
What are you
no,
going to say?
we can. I mean, I know you. I don't know what your plan is, but my plan is to have more of these conversations. You know, and to kind of like capture like a digital footprint, video footprint of
Mm-hmm.
like us, you, me. You know, over the years, months, whatever, or maybe sooner, and just kind of keep. You know, could you imagine if Beethoven and all of these people like could have recorded their conversations like Schumann talking with Brahms and like
Yeah.
WC like talking with, you know, Ravel or something.
Yeah. Um,
So
yeah, I really like, this is just a random tangent, but I like music history a lot. Like I just like learning about the composers' lives and stuff. And like you learn a lot of sad things about their lives. And it really makes you like, wow, this might be part of why their music is so good. Because like, for example, Chopin, he was sick his whole life. He had just probably just a bad immune system in general. And um he suffered from that. You know, he was engaged once and the father of his fiancee canceled the marriage because he said Chopin was too ill, right? And I guess he didn't think he could provide a stable husband for his daughter. Um, and you know, towards the end of his life, he had tuberculosis. Supposedly, that's what they think. So, and like you hear that, I guess you hear that in his music, kind of. Um, or take Tchaikovsky. His last symphony, which was I don't remember the number, 6 maybe. His last symphony, it had 4 movements, and the third was kind of like the ideal ending of a symphony, like it's the momentum's building and building and building. It gets so intense. And then it's just like a grand finale, right? It's super grand. And then it's just, it goes silent and there's like no applause, which is somewhat confusing. And then all of a sudden, like this super depressing uh, movement comes in, the fourth movement. And that was, symphony was premiered 9 days before he died. And there are conspiracies about his death, which you should listen to that movement if you haven't, or that symphony. There are conspiracies about his death and stuff, and I don't know what's true. We probably will never know. But, I can't help but feel that the two, like his death and the music, are kind of linked. Like if you listen, you'll probably see what I mean. But it's just really interesting to think about. And this happens with a bunch of other composers too. So like Mozart with the Requiem that he was writing while he died. And he, according to his wife, I think, at one point he said he thought he was writing a Requiem for himself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, it shows the depth and the complexity of the music. It's not just notes on paper, but you really feel like everything matters. Everything's interlinked.
Yeah. It reflects their life at the time that they wrote it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think on that, that's a really good. I enjoyed this.
yeah.
We should do it again. I mean,
Sure, yeah.
I'm I have a piano lesson coming up in 7 minutes, so I just wanted to. Yeah, it went really well. This is nice talking with
Yeah,
you. Yeah, you have some
it
really
was
good
nice.
ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, very impressive.
You
But
have good ideas too.
yeah, well, they're improving over time. They are.
Yeah, of course. Always improving.
I sometimes think like, gosh, if I had met Tony now when he was 12, probably could have helped out a little bit more. You're always finding ways that like improving, and even
Yeah.
since I last saw like you and Nick in the studio,
Hmm.
not really the same teacher.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
it's like a lot different now. Well,
I, I, I don't I don't know like from experience that you're a better teacher, but I know like, I can sense it.
yeah, the music and the person is interlinked.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I always found like music is the way like it reflects the soul
Yeah.
in some ways.
Yeah.
Good, cool, dude. All right. Well, did you have fun? Was that fun? That was
Yeah.
fun. That was good.
That was fun.
Yeah. Your mom's gonna watch this.
Yeah, she joked like that you were doing a podcast or something.
Well, it basically is.
It's basically a podcast, kind of, even though it's not called one. It's
Yeah. What is?
essentially a podcast
Yeah. Eat
with
your heart
Rain.
out, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. The next Joe Rogan, but for
Yeah.
music instead of MMA fighting.
I think that would be my goal. Like if I could do, I'd keep doing this until someday I can do that with Joe Rogan. Just be like, hey, that was I saw you doing that. I thought I could do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's going to be amazing to see like what happens in the future though.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you have that? Oh, I do have a picture of you. I'm gonna use that picture you used um, for the Topher Allan, like when you were a resident teacher. By the way,
Oh.
Annabelle's still doing well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did a
She
good job with her.
did I?
Yeah, you did. Good job.
Yeah. What about I feel really bad. Sometimes I think about David and I feel like
Where's
really
David?
bad.
I don't know
I
where
don't
he's
know.
at anymore. He's not around.
Yeah, I feel like
You
what?
did the best anyone could.
Okay. Well,
All right.
yeah.
Mr. Metz, Tony Metz, we'll talk to you later, bud.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
We're gonna stop it right now. Recording done.